Hey, everybody. I wanted to put a little note up at the top of this episode because we're going to be doing something a little different today. This is going to be further coverage of the Casey Pitzer suspicious death case, which we put up our case breakdown last week. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out because this interview you're about to watch has a sort of assumed knowledge built in by the audience, right? That this is such a deep and detail-heavy case that it's really going to help you to just kind of watch the primer first before you dive in here. Now, that being said, this is an interview with Casey's father, Greg Pitzer, and the family's advocate, Darrell Petrie. This was a long, detailed, and very interesting interview. So long and detailed, in fact, that we've decided to cut it into two parts and release it over 2 weeks because otherwise, I think it would just be too much at once. So, what you're going to see now is part one, which is really kind of going over the known facts of the case, right? Everything we know about Casey's suspicious death, and also the unanswered questions, right? Why the official story doesn't really add up. And there's so much more that we would want to know that's just never been explained. Then next week in part two, we're going to dive into why hasn't it explained, right? What's missing? What pieces of evidence were either just evaporated into thin air or were never collected to begin with? And then where does the case sit today? And why, after all these years, does this family still not have a satisfactory answer about what happened to their daughter? So, with that being said, let's go into part one right now and meet Greg and Daryl.
All right, Greg, Daryl, first off, thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you guys on here. We really, really appreciate you putting your trust in us and letting us platform you guys and tell us your side of this story. Let's to start off. Why don't you both kind of introduce yourselves so that our audience understands who you are and what your relation to Casey's case you have?
I'm Greg Pitzer. I'm Casey's father.
And my name Darrell Petrie, and I've been helping Greg. I told him back 2021-ish. I told him I'd treat this case like my own child's case, and I've done that ever since. So I've been just an advocate for him, and I ran into a lot of other things I believe that involve local government misconduct. So it led to his daughter's case. I approached him, and then he really jumped on board. He was waiting on some people to help him. So
Fantastic. And did you guys know each other before this, or did you meet over Casey's case?
Met over Casey's case.
yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I think the best place to start, our audience will have already seen our case breakdown, like I said, so they're probably going to be familiar with more or less the basic facts of the case. But Greg, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your daughter, right? And maybe about her life at the time that this all took place, so we could just kind of kick it off at the beginning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, at the time she was divorced. She had bought a house in Sabina. She was raising her two boys by herself. She was working up Cowan Lake. She was like the supervisor over the campground commissary area. And she was the kind of girl, if she got told you to do a dirty job, she would be right there to do it. And she would turn around, grab the snake, and scare you too. She was a really, really good girl, good mother, good all-around person.
Yeah, and I've heard some critics say that she was, went out on the weekends and drank. I mean, that's really the only thing we hear, but she was a responsible person. We're not talking about a girl that had DUIs or any type of
Right.
criminal history at all. I mean, this girl worked her
Nothing.
job. I talked to the people that worked with her. They respected her. Her friends respected her. It wasn't like she was, thought as being this drunken mom that's not raising her kids. She raised her kids. She went out to have
Fires.
she went out to have a nice time with her
So
with her friends.
Yeah,
And
nothing
Right,
unusual
right.
about
And
that.
like one night doesn't reflect on someone's entire life anyway. Did she have full custody of the kids?
Oh yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that in of itself speaks to her being a responsible person.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, before we get any further, I should ask too, was she in a happy place in her life when all this took place? Was she um, struggling with anything, or do you think that she more or less felt like her life was on track and things were going in a good direction?
I believe her life was on track. She just broke up with her boyfriend a week before, and she gets a little nervous and stuff, and she had nerve pills, but she took one. There was only one missing, and she got them that day, and they didn't show up in her bloodstream. But
Hmm.
why would all that alcohol, 8 days later, show up in her bloodstream? You got
Right.
48 hours to do an alcohol test, an accurate one. And they said she died of acute intoxication and drowning.
Yeah, one of the many strange things about what was ultimately concluded in her case. So I guess in order to get there, let's talk a little bit about her last night and what we know about it and what the official version of events is as far as you guys understand them to be.
Well, so for 10 years, I think it was just last year, we fought for Greg's record. So he knew there was video that showed his daughter was last seen alive. And so he fought for 10 years to get that video. And just last year we got the video, and the video contradicts like all the stories being told about her. And I'll break this down for you. I mean, the bouncer said she was on the ground kicking and screaming and causing a scene, and that someone said she was zigzag walking, that she come out of the bar and was yet like arguing, and that she was the aggressor. And I don't know if you saw the video where out on the patio where you can see her, and it looks like a bouncer opens the door and comes right out the bar and just like for me it looks like she's got her hands up at one point trying to catch her balance.
Mhm.
And then after it looks like her hands go up in the air, she sits down. Then it looks like he's instigating her to maybe get up to leave the bar. It looked like she was being forced to leave the bar, to me, in my opinion. And then when she stood up, she backed up to the fence, and it looks like he almost goes and kind of grabs towards her, and then she takes off out the bar. Okay, we'll try to describe this as best I can. So Casey's in this area right here. Okay, it's not super clear. There she is right there. You can catch like glimpses of her. Okay, and then you're going to see a bouncer come out here. When you see the door open, you're going to see a bouncer come out, and he comes right to her. See how nobody's paying any attention to Casey. She's not causing any scene or nothing. But then the bouncer comes out, and here he comes. Right out to him. And something happened right there initially. I don't know. It looked like there was almost like she got it looked like a push or something. I don't know. But she's here sitting on the table, it looks like now. And he's kind of leaning down to her. And then she gets up here in just a moment. Like I said, it's not super clear. And now they're coming back here to the fence. And then he kind of like goes at her, maybe grabs her, and then she takes off. Look, there she goes. And this is where Casey goes out. And she's going to end up leaving the bar here in just a few moments. So then there's going to be, I'm going to try to walk everybody through this. And the video is being enhanced right now. Here goes one person towards the car, and then you're going to see Casey right here. Here she goes. So then she comes out and starts walking towards Skyline. Well, then watching this area, you'll see her friend come after her with her arms up. Arms up right there. And then there she goes. Now there's the fight. And if you look, you can see that other bouncer. And, if Casey was so disruptive, you can watch the bouncer's eyes. Casey walks right in front of his eyes, and he don't even look at her. He's looking at the bouncer that looks like he just did this to his friend or whatever. And the bouncer is not mentioned in the reports. And we reached out to him and his family, and we're told that it's too emotional topic for him, so he don't want to talk about it. Well, then the other bouncer claimed to be her best friend as well, and he said the same thing. It was such an emotional topic that he didn't want to speak about it. But then he went to the news less than a week later and was telling them how drunk she was and how she wasn't herself that night.
Right.
But
Casey was with friends that night, right?
Yes. And we've actually, the girl that you can see dancing with her in the video, we reached out to her, and she confirmed like she wasn't puking in the bathroom like the reports say. And if you look at the video, it don't look like she consumed a single drink for the last 20 minutes of the recorded video.
Falling all over the dance floor. She was dancing.
She was walking fine. She was dancing fine. and it doesn't look like she was the aggressor. Look, when she walks out in the parking lot, you can see her best friend charges her with her, it looked like her other arms up in the air. And so, and we were told that by family and friends that Casey was never really a fighter. She didn't,
No,
she wasn't the physical type.
she was a peacemaker.
Yeah. And from, I think the video confirms that she wasn't the aggressor that night. I think it confirms that she wasn't that drunk. She looks to be walking pretty fluidly in the videos. And
It makes them all out of a liar.
And there, and you can also see one point in the video in the bar when, like in the inside bar video, where the bouncer, he's got his hands on her, like she's on the phone. We've corroborated with phone records that her phone records prove that he did call and her had the conversation. That like, so right before she went out in the patio, she called her boyfriend to come pick her up. So she went out to the patio waiting on him to come pick her up. So he was on his way to get her. And then that's when she was forced to exit the bar. And you know, it was because they said she had to leave. I mean, I know if I was 31 years old, and I'm out at the bar and I decide I'm going with someone else, you know, nobody's going to force me to leave the bar that night. And
Right.
you know, she was a grown adult. I think she was just saying, "Hey, we're changing plans," or something. Some alternative story happened there that night, though. The video proves it.
My understanding is that the official story is that she got into an altercation with someone who she knew, right? That one of the
Yeah,
friends that she was supposed to.
Her supposed
Her
friend.
said best friend, yeah. I mean, there she had like 3 best friends that night, but none of the best friends will talk to him about what happened, which is
Right.
pretty odd. But they'll talk to the news, you know, or one of them would anyway.
Well, let me ask you a really obvious question, both of you, but particularly you, Greg. I mean, having first heard all the witnesses' version of this story, all the people that were there, and then years later finally getting to see a tape, what went through your head when you saw all these discrepancies? I mean, that sounds like a
I
lot.
knew from the beginning they were lying. I know I've dealt with these people for years. I know who they are. I mean, it was a complete cover up, and we're uncovering it right now. They've all a bunch of people got a lot of answers to come up with, because I'm telling you what, it was complete botched cover up.
Yeah, and one of our biggest fights right now is we actually just filed in court. Well, I did. I'm going after them on my individual capacity. But the Tammy McKay, the girl that come out with her arms in the air, there was an interview conducted, and they inadvertently told us about this through an email release back in April of 2025, and nobody wants to give us this
Never
interview.
give it to us.
And there's no reason to withhold it. He's already
Yeah.
been designated a Marcy's Law victim
Right.
beneficiary. And me as his representative said there should be no reason for the city nor this prosecutor to continue withholding the records, but they've done it to where we've had to file in court to get it now.
Right. Can you tell us
Now,
really quickly about what Marcy's Law is, just because our audience might not be familiar with it?
Well, it's a constitutional law that was passed, like in Ohio, it was passed by like almost like 80% of the voters passed the law. And what it does, it just basically expands victims' rights. There's, you know, they have the right to be treated fairly, with respect, dignity, to be heard in public proceedings. And see, that's the problem with us right now. We've been excluded from public proceedings.
Right.
Like literally, they've excluded his name, his daughter's name from the court filings to review and to appoint special prosecutors. Our names as the affiants, complainants, and the victims have been removed from these court filings by the same prosecutor.
Right.
so before we go any further, both of you guys, both when we spoke to you earlier and, before we, the first time we ever chatted, and you've already said it a couple of times since we've been recording tonight, that you feel that there was a cover up. So since we're already there, and obviously we're going to fill in more details of some of these things, I'm just curious, are you guys saying that there was a cover up because there was a botched investigation, and that's what's being covered up, and it's sort of like covering for poor work that was done, and not wanting to admit that, and that just sort of sticking to the story, which you see happen sometimes? Or are you saying that there was some sort of larger conspiracy, for lack of a better word, that played a role in your daughter's death.
Larger conspiracy.
Yeah, I think the evidence leads us there pretty easily. I mean, when I first saw the case and Greg released the pictures to me, I saw a girl that they said drowned, but she's got a wad of grass in one hand and a beaded bracelet dangling from two or three of her fingers. And like literally when they roll her body over in the recovery photos, that bracelet falls off her hand. So you're telling me if she's out in the water thrashing, there's no, things have been impossible that they've said to happen. And then the video that we got last year shows that exit ramp where they said that she supposedly ran out of the car and almost got hit by another car. But the problem is, in order for them to pull over and her to almost get hit by a car, it'd have to be in a close proximity of each other. The two vehicles going up that ramp, and that video conclusively shows that two vehicles never go up at a close enough time to make.
Can't jump out of a car when you didn't go up the ramp.
And you can't almost get hit by a car if they're minutes apart.
Right.
You know, it's
Right.
not. They acted like she got out of the car so quick, like she was sprinting and gone, and like outran them basically. So I mean, it would have had to been a bang bang type play. Two cars going up within 30 seconds of each other, and that just does not occur in the video.
Deputy
And
on
that-
police
the
department
officials-
seen the tape, and the tape, he said they did not go up the ramp. That's what we got to get people to remember. They did not go up that ramp. She did not jump out of that car right there.
Right. Now, and Greg, when you're talking about you're talking about Hartley and Reed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it does seem that the official account that's been put out there by the authorities sort of like takes a lot of what they heard from those two guys, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but I don't know if you saw the one that was Detective Scott Baker's description of the
That's
Walmart
it.
video. It says right in his report, it says they did not go up the ramp. But what I find also odd about his report is that the Uncle Louie's the lounge video, he says that the parking lot video was too distorted to really review anything. But the fact is, you can see a bouncer come out there. What I believe went out and shoved Casey is the first interaction on the videos. It looked like a bouncer coming out and engaging it. Whether it was a shove, I don't see it being her because she sat down. If she was an aggressor, she would have been doing this, you know.
And she wasn't that kind of a person anyway from
No.
right? So that would have been really
Right.
unusual to begin with, even without the video.
Greg, I have to ask, was your daughter involved in anything that would have brought this kind of attention onto her, that would have made people want to get rid of her? As far as you know, was she ever involved in anything like that?
Nothing.
No.
She got in the car with the wrong people that night. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next, I think. Let's get through that part of it, right? What the official story is, and then what our questions might be about that story. So, after she's ejected from the bar, what happens next?
She starts walking. She starts walking out towards her house. Her supposedly girlfriend and her daughter was a designated driver. When she was walking towards Sabina, they had her billfold, they had her phone, they had her keys to her house. They turned towards Wilmington. They didn't go after her. They called somebody else. Why would they do that when they got all her stuff? And these boys that picked her up said she was falling over the ditch and everything. And that's where the story, see right there, that's where they start messing up, because they do a U-turn and they go opposite ways, supposedly to them, up this ramp, and she jumps out and runs across. Well, if she's falling over the place, how does she run across the highway? Right there, the first lie right there.
Right. And did those conflicting versions of it come out over multiple interviews with these guys, or did they have, like, with their very first, interview, was it actually that sloppy?
They will not turn the stuff over to us that we
Well, we got videos. We've got polygraph videos. We've got polygraph videos from 2013. I have personally spoke with one of the suspects on the phone, and I have that taped. And then we have the new polygraph test that occurred. and we have a police interview video from 2013. I don't know if you reviewed all those, but now in the one video, I know in Hartley's videos, he said that the reason they went towards his house instead of Casey's in Sabina was because they were out of gas. But then in the video of Reed, he says he just pumped $30 at Duke and Duchess on pump one. $30. So
Right.
so he's literally saying less than an eighth of a mile he's out of gas,
Right.
and he just put $30 in it. So that's a
Right.
big discrepancy.
What did the friends say? Because I'm sure they were interviewed. Do you know what they said about why they didn't go after her, or why they went the other way?
Well, the friends, I guess they were just done with her, and the her best friend and the girl, it was Tammy McKay and her daughter Kendra. I guess they were just done with her. I guess that's their story and they're sticking to it. And that Tammy and Nathan wanted to go home. Tammy's boyfriend Nathan, they just wanted to go home, so they left Casey walking down the highway. Kendra was the designated driver that night, and she just, in a sense, abandoned her, I guess.
And how
Without
long
her
had they
purse,
known
without
each
her
other?
phone. Sorry, Miles.
Oh,
Not
no, it's
that
okay.
long.
How long had they been
Not that-
friends?
She claimed it was her second mother, but we're not necessarily believing that story.
Kendra was having problems at the time, and Casey thought she could help her and get her straightened up, but she didn't.
Do you think that was what they were fighting about that night?
No, it's hard to say. Casey's a very pretty girl, and she's probably getting all the attention, and Kendra got jealous. Who knows? I don't know.
And we've heard some speculation and stuff about what may or may not occurred that night, but we've been just trying to avoid speculation and sticking with what the video shows
Right.
or might show.
Well, it seems like it's a series of unfortunate events of whatever happened at the bar. Casey walks off on her own, but she doesn't have her stuff with her. She doesn't have her phone.
Her lifelines in the car going the opposite way.
We had someone that reached out to us. Like, we've had several witnesses that claim they were like in these vehicles, going down and like that night. We had one person message us and said he went by, and the woman said she looked over and saw Casey over there, and her boots were off in the parking lot. So she was claiming that these boots were off all the way back in the parking lot, so she may have been walking barefoot. We can't confirm or deny that, but there's a lot of things we can't get answers for right now.
And these are the
Right.
boots that there's alleged to have been a photograph of later that has never been forthcoming,
That
right?
you guys have never
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah, and think about that. So another odd thing about the suspects was Mike Hartley. They only asked him about 3 questions in the police interviews that they did, and one of them was, "What kind of boots did she have on?" He said brown with green lacing. He was with her 4 minutes, that like 4 or 5. Then he claimed he saw him earlier when he was at her house, and it's like that just seems like a really hard to believe that story for me. I mean, that someone would know the color of this girl's boots, the
Right.
lacing in the boots.
Who are Mike Hartley and Brandon Reed?
So, they were pretty young back then. They were in their early 20s, and I can tell you the relationships. Brandon Reed's grandfather worked for the city of Wilmington, and he retired as the street maintenance supervisor. His grandmother, Mary Musselman, worked for the city as a secretary. Reed's mother worked for the city of Carla Musselman, worked for the city of Wilmington. And then Reed's brother, during the time of Casey's death and investigation, worked for the city of Wilmington, Brad Reed. So, and I got records to prove all of that. So we know that to be a fact. And yeah, so that's who they are.
His whole family worked for the city or the county.
Yeah. And then the other suspect, Mike, his stepfather, tows for the city
For the city
and
county.
And do you get the sense that there might be something relevant in that connection as far as why we still don't have answers here and the fact that these guys have failed multiple polygraphs and have changing stories and yet don't seem to be really in the spotlight at the moment.
Well, what should have happened? There shouldn't be arrests, but there should definitely be follow-up interview and questions, and that's
Not by the ones that done it the first time, by some professional.
there. Just like the prosecutor said, prosecutor Brian Scheidecker told the news, he said, if failed polygraphs occurred, he would expect further investigating. And that's the thing.
And-
All of these polygraphs have occurred under Brian Scheidecker while he was law director, assistant prosecutor for the county, public safety director, and now the current prosecutor. 4 failed polygraph tests under Brian Scheidecker, and not a single question's been asked. And he's the one that told the news that he would expect further investigating.
Right. And if they didn't do it, he was going to call the FBI.
Yeah.
Third person told me he's going to call the FBI. Hasn't done it.
Well, Daryl, you make a really good point, which is that polygraphs, don't determine guilt on their own, but they do sort of point to deception, right? Or if somebody might not be telling the whole version of a story.
Yeah.
And when someone's asked to tell a story multiple times and it keeps coming up that they're withholding or there's some deception, then you're right. What it should mean is maybe we don't give up looking into this. There's probably more to the story and we don't know it yet. Not let's put this guy in cuffs. But I think that's the problem you guys are up against right now, is that nobody wants to dig any further. And that's the issue, right?
Exactly.
Right.
No, they don't.
Well, these last 2 polygraphs he took, Scheidecker told us that he signed the strikes away, that they are admissible in the court.
Mm-hmm.
He took these polygraphs after Channel 12 done the first one. He was going in to prove that he wasn't involved, and he failed miserably. But
Right. And that was a volunteer polygraph, right? He walked in,
he
wanted
went
to do it.
himself and done this.
Right.
And we tried to get Brandon to read. He said he'd do one. Now he won't do nothing.
Right.
What was their official story?
Their official story was that they went up on the ramp, and as I said, the video proves that didn't happen. At least like they said it didn't happen, because 2 cars never
Well,
got the ramp.
even before that, like when did they encounter Casey? What did they say happened?
Walking down the road.
Well, they said that Casey left the bar. So while you can see the video where they pull over the car and it's pointed towards Sabina, towards 73, where Casey's walking. And that's when they supposedly Mike made the call to Brandon, who just so happened to be 1 block away and ready to go take Mike to get his truck, was the story they kept using. And why he had to desperately go get his truck, nobody knows. That's so then, instead of meeting there in the parking lot where they had the headlights pointed up, they left Tammy and Nathan at the bar while they went across the street and then did the exchange where Mike got out of the car and got in with Brandon. Then she pulled back over to the bar to pick her mom and her boyfriend up.
Right.
Why Mike and Brandon made a right out of the Walmart parking lot towards Casey. And then Kendra went and picked up Tammy and her boyfriend, and then they took them to their house over by, what was that, Hale Road, over towards like Cahill and Anderson Road.
Gotcha. And it's at this point then that they encounter her and they say that she's sort of like swerving, like walking drunk, right?
Yeah, back and forth in the ditch. Couldn't hardly stand up, according to them.
Well, Hartley in his interview, he kind of like when the polygrapher asked him, was like, how was her condition and he kind of like was like, huh? He's like, she was doing this,
right,
like this, and we know she wasn't doing this. The video shows her walking out just fine, shows her dancing just fine, shows her not having 1 drink the entire. The only video we got the last 20 minutes of her alive, she don't take 1. There's not 1 beverage consumed by her. So
Right.
And then it shows her shadow walking by the bank.
You can just see like a silhouette of her, like I'm talking like just
Yeah, look real.
It's
close.
really hard to see in the video, but there is.
But it's there.
Yeah, there's a
Had
silhouette of her
they-
walking by.
Did they mention, or did other witnesses mention that they had interacted with Casey earlier in the night, or was
Yeah.
it the only time?
We got a waitress from Buffalo Wild Wings. She's willing to go to court and testify. She said Casey paid for everybody at the table. She didn't drink all that stuff.
Right.
And they're trying to say she drank 16 shots and 8 beers, and she weighed 100 pounds. She's 5 foot tall. I don't know a 300-pound man could do that and walk.
Yeah, there's no
But
evidence
not
to
after
prove that
16.
story of the
Yeah, and that's
16 shots and 8 beers.
the woman that put that out quit right after.
Well,
that.
there
I
was
mean,
never
that's a lot of shots.
Right.
But I guess what I'm asking Ed is, did anyone ever say that Hartley and Reed had any interaction with Casey before they ran into her on the road?
no. It was said that Kendra and Mike were at Casey's, or at least some, maybe Tammy's. There was before they went out. Supposedly, Mike and Kendra claimed that they were there, but I don't know the validity on that. You know.
But as far as you guys know, there wasn't like a previous relationship or anything, or that they knew her.
No.
I'll tell you one big highlight that I did find that I would like to highlight is in one of the stories we've seen that Mike said that he was on the phone with Kendra the entire time that this interaction occurred. Like the entire time that Casey got in the car, went down the road, he claimed that he was on the phone with her in one story, but that's the first we heard of that. It's like, so it's almost like every story you hear different discrepancies.
Right, which never points to anything good usually. So what do you have any version of events where how they would have convinced her to get in the car, with them at that point, if she was really that drunk and they weren't that
Because
familiar?
you knew Mike.
Yeah, Mike said, "Hey, you know me. I'm Kendra's boyfriend."
Or Kendra's.
Yeah,
She's son-in-law. Future son-in-law. Or no.
that was her boyfriend at the time.
Well, that's right.
Got
She's
it.
pregnant.
And so there was that like sort of like small connection that would have built a little bit of trust, I guess,
Yes.
essentially. Right. And then from here on out, what did they say happened with her, right? When was the last time they claimed to have seen her?
When she jumped out of the car and run across the highway.
Yeah, we know Reed didn't have any, like he didn't know her, or at least claimed he didn't, because he referred to her as that girl, she, and they even one specific time I think he said that bitch is what he called her.
Got it.
In one of the reports, like when he was referring to like some crazy bitch is what
I think
said.
he called her that crazy bee. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right. And so according to them, that's the last thing that happened. She jumps out of the car and runs away. And then it gets even weirder when she's discovered in this retention pond, right? Which, for people unfamiliar with Ohio in March, it would have been really cold out there.
Exactly.
Somebody would have had to be kind of like totally out of their minds to voluntarily go in a body of water like that.
Well, that fence was the same size as she was, and she had to go through 10 foot of muck to go up a hill to get to that fence. You would have never made it through the muck.
If you look at the videos in the original,
They're way back.
like in the documentary, you can see there's news video and it shows those ditches. Like she would have had to go her ankles would have been buried in mud walking anywhere to that pond. You had to walk through that moat-like ditch to get to that pond. And so there would have been some obvious footprints that the police would have found.
Right.
And that never occurred. Literally, when the police set up shop there, they had to put boards over that ditch to get over it because it was that bad.
Wow.
And
But
then
also
they ran everybody out at dark.
And the obvious question is like, why would she go there in the middle of a cold night?
And
why would
take her boots off and jump in? Are you kidding me? You can tell by the way she grabbed the grass. She was cold.
Well, people say, well, maybe she was grabbing grass from the edge of the bank. I've heard that. She was filming in the middle of the pond.
Right. On the other side, complete opposite. Her shoes were here. She was there on the other side.
Yeah.
Found on radar, the first or second day, and it still took them 6 days to get her.
And you are being told essentially that the belief from law enforcement is she must have taken those shoes off and tried to swim across the pond and died somewhere on the way. That's basically
none of it makes sense.
Right.
I don't believe if she was drunk as they said she was, how'd she get over the fence?
Right.
Stalls her with ball wire.
And if you look at the reports, the police say, they tell the witnesses who were pointing, like maybe she's over there. There's actually in the reports that some of the police say there's no way she got over that fence in her condition.
Exactly.
And then that's ended up being their story.
Was that area lit at night? Or is there like, street lamps and stuff? Pitch black?
The ramp was lit like the
All for him.
Yeah, the ramp. If you look at the eyewitness Tiffany Lindsay, her story, you can hear where she said she saw Casey standing there in the street light with the street lights. And we found a discrepancy in the eyewitness story. We literally took her for a loop around the pond and like around the where she said she went. Went around there a couple times, and she says now that she looked up in the rearview mirror and she looked up and didn't see Casey anywhere.
It's not in her
But in her report, she said she looked up in the rearview mirror and
right
saw
there.
her standing there with the street light, but now she didn't see her. I'm just thinking
Hmm.
that's pretty significant when the eyewitness originally says she saw her. That would be something you would think that you would never forget.
Right, and now she hasn't.
And now all of a sudden, now she even stands with the thing saying, "I never wrote that in my report," is what she said.
Right. And it's right
Oh,
there.
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's right there.
So you're faced with this really bizarre situation where your daughter's found deceased in a place she would never have put herself.
Never.
Everybody who saw her that night is telling you versions of event that don't match the video, right? And also conflict with each other, and sometimes even with their own stories that they told, earlier.
Yeah.
So,
And your own experience with your daughter over time. Yeah.
right. Just your own father's, knowledge of who she was and what she would and wouldn't have done, which really can't be dismissed. And no one's taking it seriously on a law enforcement level.
Oh no,
But they give the mirage that they are.
yeah, they act like, but they haven't done nothing.
They've given the mirage like they were. Like we've had a couple chiefs that's requested the FBI, but when they did so, they put the burden of the request on the family. The one even said, "We're not asking for your help. We're just saying, basically because the family disagrees."
Yeah, we believe in the police report.
Then the mayor Mayor Haley put a request in. He said, "Why stand behind the Wilmington Police Department's investigation? Put the burden on the family."
Then that's before he was elected and seen the evidence book and said somebody needs to look at this.
Yeah.
And then he changes his mind like that.
Yeah, and that's what we've dealt with is like these officials they'll get in with us and they'll treat us right for a while and everything feels like it's going to go right. And then they'll ghost you. Yeah. They'll tell you, "No, I'm sorry." They'll retract their statements.
Right.
Backstep. And then you'll find out that they lied. We're
lying.
Catching them in lies
all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
Has there ever been an investigator that was on the case? Because I know that there's been several people that have worked the case. Yeah, has there ever been anyone that you actually trusted?
No.
Well, there's been there was a supplemental report done by Detective Bob Wilson in 2022, I believe, and they found out that he confirmed that the funeral home destroyed her clothing during the investigation because of the smell. And the problem is the bag should have been. We called the coroner's office who provided the clothes, and they said they're sealed, so they should have never
opened them up.
No smell should have ever permeated out of the bag.
Well, right. It's also a funeral home. I mean, not to be crass about it, but
that's against the rules.
Well,
everything's got to go back to the family, even if you blow somebody's head up and there's crap all over them. And if they want it, they got to get it.
Of course.
Right. It's not their job to dispose of things like that.
Absolutely.
No, and according to it's Ohio evidence preservation laws, it's I think it's revised code section 2933.82. It's the Ohio biological evidence preservation law. It states that clothing must be preserved in a manner to pull a DNA profile from it.
Right.
And that it was never contained and preserved that way. So the coroner's office that conducted this independent investigation that's out of the county, they dropped the ball.
Right.
They fought Greg to try to back in 2013, the same coroner's office, Dayton, provided records to Greg. No questions asked. Here you go, Greg. Right. Here's a very partial file of your daughter's case. He went back to the same coroner's office to get a full file, and they have fought him and fought him and fought him and fought him to prevent. They have refused any subpoenas. They've refused. They will not provide the records.
Called the police on us to kick us out of a federal building.
And then they say we have to get hold of Clinton County. Well, we got audio recording where Clinton County said you got to get hold of them. They're sending you this way.
Right.
That's the direction you can't go that way.
Right. It's like you guys are on the customer service line from hell where they're like, "Oh, let me transfer you. Let me transfer you." Here,
Here, let me
sorry,
hear
wrong
this one.
department.
Yeah, this one.
Right,
And
right.
then once you start recording them and then you show it to them, then it's like, then they
Yeah,
they'll just lock up and get quiet on you.
yeah.
Yeah.
They'll just refuse to speak to you. Yeah, or file a civil protection order against you. They did that too. So
So what do you think is behind this, guys? Because this is obviously more than one person giving you
well,
the same treatment, and it doesn't make sense.
I've come to the conclusion on it. I know what it is. I've talked to it about it. It's a company called Corsa in Ohio. Corsa is blocking the prosecution in his daughter's case. Like literally, I have messages from our county prosecutor who designated him as a martial law victim rep and said that Corsa is intervening to the insurance company who would be liable for any damages that would be owed to Greg or his family or any of these victims are the ones investigating the case. So they're not pursuing they're not pursuing any cases that implicate their insured.
Exactly.
None of them. It
So
don't
this
matter if it's rape, murder, don't matter what it is. They won't pursue the case because of that.
so this comes down to insurance at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what's wild is if you go online and you Google Corsa Financials Ohio and you take their financials and you run it through a neutral AI. I don't care what AI you run it through. Tell it. Just ask it this. Say audit these records. Red flag anything that you see and make a list and put the severity level, rate it between 1 and 10. It'll blow your mind what it says.
But are you guys saying, and I'm not saying this is that I can't believe it. I just want to make it clear for everyone who's going to watch this that the insurance company is putting pressure on the police to not do their job completely.
Yes,
Keep quiet.
because if they pursued the case and they went after these cops and people that committed crimes, it's going to implicate the people that they insure.
Right.
So
Got
literally,
it.
the
Okay.
prosecutor.
Okay. So hang on. Sorry. But so you're saying there's something else. There's a cover up, you think. You're proposing that there's a cover up to cover up some guys who had some connections who probably did something that they're denying they did. But the cover up, if the cover up was proved, then the insurance would be in trouble, right?
Yeah, it would huge liability they'd be exposed to huge liability and
Got it.
and damages. And
But it's the root of this. The root of this is, in your opinion, some people who knew the right people did something horrible and weren't prosecuted for it.
yeah,
Exactly.
and the thing is that when I say this about the insurance company, this is not speculation. I have every single document that proves the full circle of all these different attorneys that represent the same loyalty. It's all the same group loyalty. And I mean, it's full circle. I have the emails from Prosecutor Scheidecker that says Corsa is intervening. Like literally within a week's of time apart, I think it was May 20th. He sent me an email last year and he's like, hey, Corsa is going to be involved. They're going to be helping you with the investigation as an advocate. And then in his next email on the 26th, he sent me, he's like, hey, Corsa is going to turn their weight. They're going to put their weight on the defense and turn everything against you. So he's essentially saying, hey, you got this insurance company that's going to be your advocates and do your investigation on your complaints while they're destroying you in court. Right? And the case is, it's on the federal docket. It's called Petrey versus Melander. And I put all the Corsa related filings on that docket. And I mean, I'm hoping that the federal courts will see it and somehow get the Department of Justice in here. This is as big as a deal as the fraud cases they're going against right now in Ohio.
Right.
This Corsa affects 72 counties. I think it was 74 the last time I checked. Claremont just signed up with them. 74 counties in Ohio.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is the element that's like the cover up is almost more preventing any real investigation from taking place. But what
Correct.
actually
Exactly.
took place that night and what happened to Casey is like a different sort of a secret that we have yet to get at. And it may involve these guys, I say that obviously because no one's been charged with anything. It may involve these guys whose stories have changed and who don't seem to give a good account of themselves anytime a polygraph machine is in the room. And we still don't know what the truth there might be, right? Like there's never been any
I
sort
know
of.
what the truth is. I
What do you
know
think it is, Greg?
what I think happened that night. I think the guys tried to rape her and she fought back and they ended up choking her and killing her and throwing her in the pond. Now, in order to find out, we've got to exhume her body and check and see if that little bone's broke, then we know.
I don't think she'll ever have to get to that point to be even exhumed. I think there's DNA. I think there's results for the. I think a regional crime lab had those corner swabs and they took them. They don't just take them to take them. They take them to test them.
Right.
And so I think it's just a matter that the coroner's office is holding those records back. And I think we'll get a conviction when we get the phone records that have the geofencing data and the GPS coordinates of where they were that night. I think it'll end it. I think that's why they withheld those records, is because those phone records will convict them.
Yeah.